Hello and welcome to, I nearly got it wrong. Hello and welcome to the Mark Goldbridge channel. Thanks everybody for joining us. Drop a like. We can't live stream off the United Stand channel at the moment and we are trying to find out why. So in the interim, we've got to react live to stuff. There may be transfers, whatever. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and click the bell so you get notifications. We don't know what's going on. Can't really say too much about it. Doesn't seem to be any reason for it, so we will certainly be appealing it. But for now, we are live on here and we will still be uploading pre-recorded stuff on the United Stand, but just make sure you subscribe. And thanks for everybody who's come over to here. Remember to share it if you're live, because a lot of people won't realise where we are, but make sure you subscribe and get involved. But I'm joined by Alex. We want to talk about transfers really tonight. We want to talk about where Manchester United are. I want to talk about Griezmann at some point because Alex is a Griezmann fanboy and he's big on his loyalty and I'm not. But I do appreciate people are getting a little bit fed up with it. So we're going to talk about it in a few minutes' time. What I want to start off with is something that you were saying on our private chat group a few minutes ago, Alex, about Morata, which I think is quite interesting.
Yeah, sorry. It was just my friend that supports Chelsea, so I don't know how relevant the sources. It was like, wait, let me just get it up on my phone. It was like something goal saying that Morata only wants to join Chelsea, and he's asked that it's basically Chelsea or nothing. Wait, I can get the source to that. It was Diarra goal, so I don't know how reliable, but it says Alvaro Morata only wants to leave Real Madrid for Chelsea, and he asked Florentino Perez to accept their offer for him. Which it's kind of like countering what other things, because Morata's dad said yesterday that we're the only ones that have actually tabled a bid. So it's like silly season. You know what you get in the summer, that you just get stories left, right, and centre. So whether it's true or not, who knows? But that's just the latest twist in the tale.
I mean, the last I'd heard was that, and it's from Balaguer, so it's obviously not going to happen, was that United were sort of looking at De Gea and 20 million, no, Morata and 20 million for De Gea. Let's not move off to Morata too quickly. Would you be happy if United signed Morata? Because again, he's very like Perisic. You can almost throw the two together. Some United fans are in meltdown about Morata or Perisic coming. My personal opinion is they would both become fan favourites. They're both hardworking and they're both talented lads. They're not Griezmann, they're not Galactico, they're not top 10 players in the world. They're probably top 50 players in the world.
That's the thing. I saw your tweet just before we went live, and like thinking about it, it is right that it's like you obviously get a lot more excited, because I think the thing is, and I speak for myself as well, I fall into this category. Like last summer, we had like Mkhitaryan was a big name. Everyone knew about him, world famous with Dortmund. Zlatan was a big name. Pogba was a big name. Okay, Bailly wasn't a big name and then turned out to be the best of the four. But you do obviously get that little bit more excited, like when we signed at RVP. And Morata, everyone knows who he is, but he just doesn't send that like excitement to you. And same with Perisic. But having said that, like if you asked me last summer on the watch along or whatever, I would have said the person who I was least excited about was Bailly, and then he turned out to be like one of my favourite players. So you just don't know. He's apparent. I didn't actually know this until yesterday during the Champions League final, that apart from Ronaldo, Morata's actually been Real Madrid's top scorer this season. So he clearly isn't a bad player, but
he doesn't play that much either.
Yeah, from what I have seen of him, he is decent, and he has a 31% conversion rate, which when you put that in comparisons, Zlatan I think last season had an 8%, I think it was, conversion rate. So it is an improvement on that, but then you have to say like the positions and like the sheer genius that Zlatan does, he might like create more chances for himself. But I've said before, I wouldn't be upset if we signed him, but it would be a bit underwhelming.
Yeah, which I do get. I do get that. But the thing about Morata is he's not slow, but he's not super fast. He's just fast. He's not as clinical as Ronaldo in the box, but he's clinical. He's not as good at holding the ball up as Zlatan, but he can hold the ball up. He's 6'2". He's not as old as Perisic. He's 23. You know, he's an all-round. If he was a FIFA player, he'd hit 80, because he's that sort of player. He's not the top player in the 90s, and he's certainly not below average in the 70s and 60s. The fact is, if you speak to Juventus fans or Real Madrid fans, they all speak highly of Morata. Mourinho gave him his debut, as far as I know, for Real Madrid. Chelsea want him, so that shows you what Conte thinks, and Conte's very shrewd. I haven't got a problem if we sign him. I mean, I don't know where you would be on this, Alex. And we've got to take a live. There's a super chat which I need to take after this, but that will move us on to somebody else. So I'll answer this, then I'll take Cobb Ross Atkins' thing. In relation to strikers that we seem to be linked with at the moment, if I said Morata or Lacazette or Lukaku, well, in what order would you go with them?
Is Belotti one of the options, or?
Well, Belotti, I think he's got to be number one, hasn't he? That's why I haven't put him or Aubameyang in there, because I think Belotti and Aubameyang.
Oh yeah, Aubameyang as well. Obviously, he would be my top of the top. But and I think let me just sidestep a sec with Aubameyang quickly. That Ed Woodward always goes on about Galacticos and stuff. If he's available, he is a Galactico. So I have no idea why the hell we wouldn't go for Aubameyang if he was available.
No, anyway, just on that very quickly. I've said it before. I always thought he would go to Real Madrid because he's always said he wants to go there. But if he's moving and he's not going to Real Madrid and we're not front of the queue, that's a real lack of...
warning sign. Yeah, but anyway, out of those three, I would say it's hard because they all have their pluses and minuses. That actually, Lacazette's actually the oldest out of all of them, and I think he's only 25 or something.
He's 26 now,
Yeah, Lukaku's proven in the Premier League, but he does have a terrible first touch, and I think people need to realise, the ones that are like really in favour of us signing Lukaku, is that there's a big difference playing for Everton and playing for Man United in terms of like, it's the same with what I was saying last season with when Arsenal were linked to Jamie Vardy, that he wouldn't have been anywhere near as Arsenal because they get given a lot less space, and it's the same with Lukaku. He's brilliant at running into space with his power and pace. And with United, we see it time and time again that teams just sit back against us. So I'm not sure how good he would be. But then again, I would be happy if we signed Lukaku. I'd be happy if we signed any of the three of them because we need a striker that can actually finish. But out of them, I'd probably say, if pushed on it, I'd probably say Lukaku first, Morata second, Lacazette third. But I wouldn't be unhappy with any of them.
No, and I think I'd probably agree with you. The thing with those three is I think I'd like us to buy two of the three. I don't think any one of them are good enough to be just up there with Rashford and Martial. I think if you're buying any of them three, you need to get two of the three. And whether we do that, I don't know. But I know a lot of people like Lacazette, but he's had hardly any French caps. He's 26. And I don't think he's any better than Jermaine Defoe. I really don't. But he might prove me wrong, but I don't think he's any better than Jermaine Defoe, and I wouldn't have him at United. So
the main thing I was holding out hope for, but my hopes got destroyed this week, was now that he's fully fit and recovered from all his injury setbacks and banging the goals again, that we would bring Falcao back home. But that's not going to happen now.
Cobb Ross Atkins, thank you. He's made a very big super chat comment there, 20 quid, which is fantastic. Why are we not standing our ground with Inter, he says. If they don't raise £30 million by June the 30th, way before our transfer deadline, they get a ban, which the new owners won't accept. So why don't we put down 30 million for Perisic and just wait? I'm not aware of anything. Are you aware of that, Alex, at all? Obviously, we know about the Atletico Madrid.
No, never heard of it.
I wasn't aware of anything about that. So if you're right on that, Cobb, you've probably raised a good point there. I don't know who United are going to sign now. The one I was convinced we were going to sign, and I think we were signing him until Thursday morning, was Griezmann, which we will touch on in a couple of minutes because Alex is going to come from the other side, which I think is good. But I don't know who we're going to sign now. I think Perisic probably is more likely than most, but I'd still only put it at 60-70% because I just do not know, and I don't think anybody knows. That's why everyone's just chucking all sorts of names out, which is good in a way, but it's bad because we'll just get linked to everyone. But we shouldn't be paying any more than 40 million sterling for Perisic, I don't think. I mean, I'd welcome the signing, but that is too much money.
Yeah, I haven't seen that much of him, but 40 sounds a lot, but then you go and by today's standards, it really probably isn't that much when you look at the prices that everyone's paying for players. But he's scored over 10 and assisted over 10 this season, so he's obviously a decent player, plays for Croatia, but he is getting on. He's like 28, I think, and I don't know much about him. Is he an out-and-out winger, or is he more of like a type of winger like a Mkhitaryan Mata that just cuts in the whole time? Because if he is, then I really don't see the point of signing him.
No, I was arguing with somebody about this last night because they said he's right-footed and can he play on the right wing. He's two-footed. He's very, very good with his left foot and he plays on the left. Very skillful, tall. Very, very good player. But I wouldn't pay any more than 40 million for him, because that is being robbed. Definitely is. Ranuk Dash made a contribution. He says, I don't know why we're not serious about James Rodriguez. I'd rather have him, who is forcing a move, rather than a gutless bitch. What do you think? Well, I know. Well, I wanted to talk about Rodriguez anyway. Obviously, a couple of weeks ago, it broke. I mean, Sky Sports News, if you're watching, which I'm sure you're not, you need to sort yourselves out. You can't go breaking news on Bale, Varane, Rodriguez in the last 2 weeks to United, and none of them have any substance. It's embarrassing.
And De Gea to Real Madrid, which didn't have any substance either.
They have just destroyed something that was quite good. I just don't understand why they're doing it. They really have become the son of the TV companies, and it's a shame, because people do still believe it. We don't even react to Sky Sports breaking news anymore.
I read an article the other day that it was apparently, because they used to be like the best source of information for any sports news, but it seems like they set up Sky Bet. So obviously, if they do this breaking news, they can influence people into betting on certain things.
It's so mercenary, that is, isn't it? You know, you dissolve quality for cash, and it's poor. But James Rodriguez obviously broke a couple of weeks ago. My point was not that it was any decent source. It was from Colombian radio, I think, and a bit from Balaguer. But and a lot of United fans had sold Mata and signed Rodriguez within a few hours, which was just ridiculous. But what I would say from that, Alex, is a lot of people wanted Rodriguez. What I said at the time is, and I can't remember if we discussed it, was I like James Rodriguez, wander the left foot, copyright, and he'd bring a lot to United. But at that time, I thought we were getting Griezmann. We've already got Mata and Mkhitaryan. I didn't really see, and we've got Pereira coming back. I didn't really see. I thought it was a luxury, maybe 6th or 7th in a line of positions that we actually needed. Now Griezmann's out of the picture. I don't think there's many players in world football that can come in and do that role. Which, if you saw Rooney today, he's still a professional footballer being paid £300,000 a week, getting put in Jamie Carragher's middle-aged back pocket. I mean, he's got to leave United. It's sad, but he's got to go, and we've got to sign somebody who can play in that position.
Everything was depressing. I was expecting him to part, but JT and Carragher have a combined age of like late 70s. But yeah, I'm going to sound like hypocritical, and I know we're getting onto him later, but I just see James as the same sort of signing as Griezmann. And don't get me wrong, I was really, really excited for Griezmann, and I would still be happy if we signed James, but we don't need either of them. We don't need a number 10. We have Mkhitaryan who can play there. We have Mata who can play there. It's just completely pointless. Rooney, if he stays, can play there. Lingard, we've played there. It's just pointless signing a number 10. And me and Ross were talking about it in the United Stand group chat the other day. And Joey as well. It's like we should go 4-3-3 anyway. So I don't think that 4-2-3-1. Like in the Jose Glory years and stuff. Obviously 4-2-3-1 was brilliant. I think it really works in the modern day. It would work at home at Old Trafford against like the weaker teams to just blow them away. But I think when you go against a good team with 4-2-3-1, it really doesn't work, and I prefer 4-3-3. So I wouldn't really sign James because he's going to cost a lot of money. Just like Griezmann would have. Obviously, he won't cost as much as Griezmann, but I think we can strengthen in other areas. And our main signing needs to be a striker. But the issue is that there really isn't like any world-class striker available. Like, obviously, we had Zlatan last season that was available, and we got him in. But then you're looking at the likes of Lewandowski's, the Agueros, the Suarez's, like world-class strikers. None of them are available.
I mean, Jordan Barnes makes a good point there. You need class wingers if you're going to play 4-3-3. But I remember you saying this in the week, Alex, and I think you and Paul were on about it actually, that effectively we don't necessarily need a number 10 or a support striker if we're playing the 4-3-3. You'd put Pogba as the more attacking midfielder. I'd personally like Herrera to play behind him and then buy a CDM like a Fabinho who's 6'2" just to sit there. Then you've got your striker, whoever that is, and your width can't be Mata and Mkhitaryan because we do need pace out there. But yeah, we might get away with not having a number 10, and that's, you know, Demarcio was right again. I didn't even think he was right this time, but he was right again. 2 days before the Griezmann thing fell apart, he was saying Griezmann's no longer a priority. He's third in line behind Mbappe and was it Morata?
Yeah, that's the thing. And like I was as well like this as well. Like Demarcio's like finally like started to fall off and not become that accurate, and then like 2-3 days later, it turns out he was right again.
I know, it's unbelievable. But I'll tell you what else is unbelievable. I never get surprised by the people who get involved in the United Stand. We've got nearly 2,000 people watching on my channel that's only got 5,000 subscribers. So however you've all found us, whether it's people sharing the link is fantastic or letting people... We've got a problem on the United Stand channel at the moment. We can't go live, so we've had to move over onto this channel, which is my channel. So do subscribe to it. Hopefully we won't be on here for very long. We might get it sorted out in the next couple of days. But if there's going to be live reaction to anything, it's going to have to be on this channel for now. So do subscribe, drop us a like. But the most important thing is subscribe and hit the bell. And I'm really, truly humbled to get 2,000 watching because my notifications aren't going to tell anybody because I've hardly got any subscribers. So you've done fantastic and you never fail to impress me. And just to all those people who knock the United Stand, I forever get copied into tweets about what a knobhead I am. Probably I am, but I don't think people understand I'm not the United Stand. When people say I don't understand why the United Stand's got nearly 100,000 subscribers and so many people watch it, Goldbridge is a knobhead or a CUNT or whatever else, they don't understand that I'm not the United Stand. We have people, like tomorrow night, you'll be Skyping in, you're commenting. The United Stand isn't me, it's not Alex, it's not Drawty, it's not Paul, it's not Ross. It's you. It's a voice for you. That's what the United Stand is. That's why you like it. I don't think anyone particularly likes me and I'm not bothered. It's what we do. It's what we generate. Conversation as fans, a fan's voice. So I'm glad all you lot get it. And if you truly humbled, absolutely fantastic. But let's crack on. We've spoke there about Rodriguez. I'd pretty much welcome him now. We know for a fact that let's do Griezmann. I think a lot of people are saying just do the Griezmann thing because it's going to be totally different. Right, okay. The sad thing about the watch-along being taken down by FIFA or whoever it was earlier on is that we did go live half an hour before to talk before the testimonial kick in about Griezmann confirming that he's staying at Atletico Madrid. I've said my bit on this a lot, so I want to get Alex's side. But for me, the loyalty thing just doesn't wash, and I'll be proved right the second he signs his new contract. Because if you're staying that out of loyalty, you don't need to sign a new contract. He's contracted till about 21, 22, and you just stay for 6 months or a year. Why would you sign a new contract and get a load more money? For me, he was coming to United, and on Thursday morning when the ban happened, Atletico Madrid, with £50 million in their pocket that they wanted to spend on Lacazette, went up to Griezmann and said, we'll pay you a shitload of money to stay. In fact, there's talk of a £5 million loyalty bonus as well. So for me, it's all about money.
Well, to be fair, it is with most footballs these days. Like, you to an extent, with the badge with Man United does carry a lot of weight, but then a lot of these players are getting paid a lot of money compared to other clubs. And with Griezmann, I think, like you said, and he's pretty much said it, that he was going to join until the ban happened, which is just crap luck on our side. And like obviously, you said that Lacazette was set to join. I think Lyon's manager even said, chairman said that he was about to go, and then obviously the ban happened, so that's why he's now being linked with us in Arsenal and the likes. But with Griezmann, I think you can understand his position. Like, if he signs a new contract, then maybe it would be to do with money or whatever. But at the moment, Atletico are going to be in a really bad situation. They're not like Real Madrid. Real Madrid got banned, which of course they didn't, and just like Barca's didn't get extended as well. That they have the squads to like cope with it. Atletico obviously have a good squad, but they don't have a like Real Madrid type squad. But the thing that confused me is, like, don't get me wrong, at the moment, no anyone says Atletico Madrid are a better team than us, but obviously not bigger, but better. But he said that, oh yeah, I want to go and win trophies this coming season and like in the future, and has more of a chance of winning trophies with Man United than with Atletico Madrid, purely because that Barcelona and Real Madrid are in La Liga, so he doesn't really have much chance of Copa del Rey, doesn't have much chance of La Liga. I know they've won it before, but it's a massive ask to do it with this Real Madrid team are looking absolutely unstoppable. And then, whereas in the Premier League, we do have good teams. It is the most competitive league in the world, but it is possible that Man United, if we sort ourselves out and get a decent striker, like if we would have had, like, say, Harry Kane last season, I think we would have been challenging for the league then. It was just our finishing. So it isn't like, I understand he was loyal, but I don't think he bottled it because, like I say, in terms of Champions League, they'll get probably further than us this season as well. But in the long term, I think we're a project, and I think eventually we will, in the next 2 to 3 years, obviously be going back to these semi-finals and finals in the Champions League. I hope, anyway.
Are you disappointed? I mean, the one thing I would say, I could argue with everybody about loyalty, and I'm fed up of it. I even argued with Martin, who used to be on the channel, saying, oh, you can't have a pop at him, he's loyal, and that's not, you don't see much of that in football. I think the loyalty thing's a load of crap. He had an agreement with United and he went back on it, and where's the loyalty in that? And my loyalty is to Manchester United. But we could argue till the cows come home about that. I think I'll be proved right when he signs a new contract. But I think the one common ground, and I don't want to spend too much time on him anyway because he is history, I agree. But the one thing, I really liked him. I wanted us to sign him last year and as a dream signing. I really liked the player, and I think that's why it's affected me. Like the jilted groom at a wedding, really gutted by it. He would have been the perfect for the number 7. He would have been perfect for the team. His brother supports United. Pogba's his best mate. United are on the rise, and like you say, we can actually win the league, and we actually can win the Champions League. I don't think Atletico Madrid can do either of those things as good as they are. Before, over the last few months, he spoke a lot about, I don't know whether I like the weather and the sun. He's not ever won anything. Do you think this has exposed him as somebody that's just a bit indecisive and hasn't actually got that ambition, winning mentality that the top players have? Because there is no reason to turn this down. There's no reason to turn it down. And if he was set on doing it, I don't think anything would have changed his mind, is what my point is. Maybe he was just never really... Maybe he was always just 80%. And maybe that's good for us, because if he was never really adamant that he wanted to come, then we're probably better off without.
Yeah, the mentality thing I can understand. I mean, you just have to look at him. I know I've been critical of Ronaldo's overall play style. Like I've tweeted out yesterday, he's a shadow of his former self in terms of overall play, but he's still the best finisher arguably of all time. But if you look at Ronaldo in finals compared to Griezmann in finals, because obviously Griezmann's been in 2 finals, and Ronaldo scored in both of them, and Griezmann bottled a load of chances in both finals. And I think he's notorious for disappearing in the big games, like Mesut Ozil does all the time for Arsenal. And so we do need a lot of ability can take you so far, but mentality gets you further. Yeah. They said like Rene Moulenstein, when he was at Man United, he was always the first person into training, last person to leave. And you can tell with Ronaldo's work ethic that still at 32, he's putting them away. And if you saw before the game, he's hyping everyone up. And it's like an example in terms of Man United. It's like Zlatan, how he brought more to us than just the goals. He was a leader and stuff. And Griezmann does seem to not really maybe have that winner's mentality, which can be, you can grow into that, but at the moment he doesn't have it. So it does sound hypocritical now, us saying acting I didn't want him anyway, because obviously everyone's kidding themselves if you say you didn't want him. But he would have been, like I said before, a luxury signing, because we don't, as much as I wanted him, and I've said on the show that I wanted him, and I would still want him now, but we don't really need a number 10, really. We have much bigger issues that we need to sort out, and number 10 really isn't one of it. It's probably the least position we need to fill in.
You spot on about Ronaldo. I love Ronaldo, but every time I've watched him, probably for the last 18 months now, he's been shockingly poor to the Ronaldo I'm used to, who gets the ball, runs at players. But the one thing he's still whacking the goals in. He's just always there and clinical, and he didn't play. I tweeted it yesterday, about just before he scored the goal. I tweeted and said, Ronaldo's been invisible, you know what's going to happen. And literally 20 seconds later he scored. And that Ronaldo is on the decline, but I'd still take him at United, because I'd play him as a number 9 and he'd score 40 goals. It'd infuriate a lot of people, because they'd go, he's not that good, this, that and the other, but he'd get 40 goals and he wouldn't miss chances like Zlatan does. But yes, anyway, that's it. He's parked, he's finished now. AJ7 is done. We won't be speaking about him. I just wanted to get Alex's point of view, because I know it was slightly different to mine. DD says, who gives an FUCK if De Gea wants to leave? We spoke at the start of the show about how there's talk of De Gea for Morata and £20 million. I would value Morata at around 40, so 20 million would be 60 for De Gea. I think it's quite pleasantly surprising that goalkeepers are sort of, in my lifetime, it's never been like that. Even if you're a top goalkeeper, you'd still be, well, let me just say, 20 years ago, if the situation was like this, obviously you wouldn't be paying 40 million, but Morata would be the same or more expensive than De Gea, no matter how good he was in goal, because goalkeepers were never as much as strikers. So the fact that we'd get 20 million in Morata for a goalkeeper just shows how that's changed. Personally, I don't think it's a bad deal. I know you shook your head about it, but two things. What do you think we'll end up getting for De Gea? Or, well, the first thing is, do you think he is going to go? Some people think he isn't.
I don't think he will, to be honest. I've seen like a lot of reports saying that De Gea is not going to force a move. So I think if we're trying to bring in big names and like try to build something with bringing in the likes of Pogba, the Zlatans, the Mkhitaryan's, how good is your bargaining position if your best player for the last however many years leaves you? It looks like you're then on the decline. And like 60 million, yes, on paper is a good, brilliant deal. I think it's like Buffon was like 32, 34, whatever the world record for a keeper is, and De Gea would double that. But it's still not worth it. I'm sorry, he's worth more than 60 million. If City are paying, 35, 40 million for some absolute nobody, that Romero is better than. I read before that he's like kept out of the team by Roma's number 2, and I'm guessing that he's a good passer of the ball, so Pep loves him. Claudio Bravo, but if they're paying 40 million for him, then De Gea has to be like 80 or 100 million. And yes, I get what you mean that like outfield players obviously go for more, but in today's day and age, De Gea is priceless, and I wouldn't swap him for any keeper in the world. And if we were to make a deal that we want a player for De Gea in the deal, then try to like play hardball, try to get a Bale or a Varane, someone like that, not Morata. Like, why just take someone that just made like a 10-minute cameo for them that they clearly don't rate that highly?
Just very quickly, Ranok Dash has made a contribution. Thank you for that. He says, for me, the perfect striker would be a Cardi. What do you think? I would. I'd love a Cardi. I really would. But I don't think we're linked to him, and I don't think we'll get him. But I do like him. But as Alex says, We'll talk about strikers in a minute because we spoke about the lower end ones like Morata. But I do want to talk about. I do think that United have got to do something big, and I want to talk about what we're going to do from Thursday because we're not going back anymore. We've got to look forward, and I do believe that our transfer plans have been thrown into jeopardy, and it's going to be a test for Mourinho and Woodward. We'll talk about that in a minute. Just sticking with the De Gea thing. If De Gea stays, Alex, then I think we can sort of say goodbye to any Real Madrid player coming anyway, because if we say we're not selling De Gea, they're not really going to want to do business with us. I don't think they would. I think they'd be like, up yours. So we'd have to be looking away, which would mean no Morata, Rodriguez, Varane, Bale anyway.
Yeah, definitely. But to be fair, unless we were getting the likes of Bale, then I don't really care about any of their players. We're not going to get any of the top, any of their A team with like a Cruz, a Modric, a Ronaldo, someone like that. So we need to be. This is the thing that we need to be aiming to be that Real Madrid or to be that Juventus in that Champions League final, not taking their scraps. And yes, you can look at the likes of Arsenal taking Barca scraps with. Sanchez and him turning out to be brilliant, but I don't see I don't see Morata being like a Sanchez or anything like that would really take us to the next level. So I think we need to be aiming higher than that and trying to get their best players rather than just taking their B team, because they keep constantly coming for our best players. Like they're coming again for De Gea, came for Ronaldo, Beckham, Van Nistelrooy, all of these players. We need to be the team. Like Woodward said that he wants to stop seeing the players go to Spain. He wants to see them coming to England and coming to Man United. So we can't be seen taking their hand-me-downs, basically.
No, I'd agree with that. And that's the. I want to talk about that in a minute. Just remind me if I forget to mention the Pogba thing, because that will fit in lovely. But there's a couple of comments I do need to read here. Mickey Drip has been asking this so many times. I just feel I should answer it because it just keeps popping up like a pin in the arse. He says, remember, Mark, when you said if Griezmann stayed at Atletico, if they got the ban before it was put in place, you said you would respect him. Remember the video I did reacting, saying, when I said that, I retract it. So that's answered that. I did say it and I retracted it. So what? End of story. Kyle Gillam, with a cracker, he says, you don't know how transfers work, clearly. If you're going to put a comment on, talk about how people don't know what transfers work with the word Gillam in your name, that's just killed your comment. Shane Poskett says, One Love Manchester. Of course, yes. The concert's there tonight, which has been fantastic. I was watching it before we came online. And the Lynn Hall says, well done, Alex. Woodward has to stand by what he said and say no to Real. And Gungshi says, I can't see Real selling Varane. Well, I spoke about that last night. how we are in for Varane, other than we would be interested in him, I do not know. Why they would sell their most assured centre-back in a Champions League winning side when there's not really centre-backs out there in world. I mean, we've got that problem, Alex. We need a centre-back. There isn't... If I said to you, what centre-back would you sign for Manchester United? Apart from somebody like Varane, let's say we did get Varane, who are Real Madrid going to replace him with? Because that's the problem. There aren't obviously good centre-backs around in the world. So why would Real Madrid give away one of the best?
It's an easy answer for who I'd want, because I think it's next summer. I think that there's a buyout clause that becomes available. It was all out in the press. 25 million for Alvaro, who it's between him and Bailly, who's the best centre-back in the Premier League. So if we were to get Alvaro, our defence would just be absolutely out of this world. But other than that, I guess they'd go for the likes of Bonucci or Chiellini, one of the Juve centre-backs.
But Italian defenders are a risk, aren't they? Although Darmian has improved, and they got peppered last night, didn't they? But yeah, I mean, I used to like Manolas, I still do, but he's not had an amazing season this year. There's a few centre backs in Italian football actually. Koulibaly's good. I could never get his name right at PSG. I like him. Marquinhos or however. Marquinhos. Van Dijk, I like him, but I won't when he goes to Liverpool. Michael Keane is just meh. I know I'm going to get...
That's the thing, how we keep getting linked to him, and people... It's just like another thing, like the Lingard thing, like, oh yeah, he came through the academy, so we should sign him and all this.
He's an Everton centre-back at best.
Yeah, he's not a United... I like him as like a replacement for maybe Smalling or something, as like a backup centre-back. But if we're going from... like the likes of like Rio Vidic and stuff, to having Michael Keane as our starting centre-back, then I'm sorry, then it's just a thing, like I said, if we're aiming for the Champions League final, then we can't be doing it with Michael Keane at centre-back.
I tell you what, it was bittersweet, if you watch the testimonial today, to see a good corner come in and then a centre-back just blast it in. I mean, I've been saying it all season, and I'm glad we're talking about the centre-back thing, because people say... I keep saying we need a Manolas or a domineering centre-back, and people go, no, we don't need it, we've got Bailly. Bailly's good, but he doesn't do that in the opposition's box for some reason. If he can bring that into his game, brilliant. But if you saw that goal from Vidic today, I mean, he didn't do it every week, obviously, but he was a threat. And Evra was a threat from corners as well. We desperately... And the brilliant thing about Vidic is, anybody gets a corner... or a free kick round the edge of the box, you've got total confidence that it doesn't matter who he's against, is going to attack that ball like his life depends on it and win it. He was just so good in the air. He's one of the best centre-backs we've ever had. And I don't think there's anybody like that in football. But to be honest, he gets a bit of stick and the league's not that great, but Lindelof could be... I mean, Lindelof's better than Michael Keane from what I've seen. He could be that option. But we need to sign a centre-back, and Michael Keane will not inspire me, to be honest. I think we need to sign a centre-back that's better than Bailly, because Bailly's going to be one of them, and if you can buy somebody better than him to play with him, brilliant. We should not be looking at people like Michael Keane, to be honest, but apparently we're going to do that, and he's on holiday with Lingard, which makes it even worse. Let's talk about the fact that what's his face, who was going to sign, who was not going to sign anymore. He would have been the signing of the summer. He would have took the 7 shirts. That would have been our signing of the summer, like I say. Probably the signing of the summer for any club. And that's not happening now. So I think United, they need to do something. And I know people are getting frustrated. But I'm trying to think how to word this. I think it's very, very difficult when you've invested probably since November this deal. You thought it was going to happen. It's been working towards it, and then it falls apart on Thursday. The way football transfers work, it's not FIFA where you just go, right, I'm going to go and offer 100 million for Bale and he'll sign. They take a bit of time. You've got to sort of flirting with them a few months before and chatting with their agent and talking about, especially in the modern game, marketing deals and all this, that and the other, their brands they've got. It all needs speaking about. I don't think you can just drop a ball on Thursday and then go and sign Bale or whoever, or a Neymar or a Dybala or a Verratti or anything like that. You just can't just go into that deal cold 3 days later and get it done. We can still sign those sort of players, but it's going to be very difficult now because we've not planned for it.
Yeah, the issue I think is that they just are like the world class players aren't really available. They're all tied up to either Juve, Real, Barca, or Bayern, and then like in the Premier League, like it does look like Alexis Sanchez is leaving, and I would absolutely love it if we just made like a massive bid, just offer him whatever money he wants. But Arsenal, I don't think are ever going to sell to us again after RVP, so you miss out in that regard, and it's just a lack of like last summer we obviously had an amazing summer, but there were players available. And now it just doesn't seem like there are players available. The only thing I could think of that we could do, but I don't think they'd actually do it, is try to raid Bayern Munich, because obviously Bayern's wages are a lot lower than Premier League wages. But it just depends, because obviously Bayern are currently a way better team than us. So it just depends if people are willing to like sacrifice success for money. But as well, I was having this discussion with my mate yesterday. With like this Real Madrid team that they've won 3 of the last 4 Champions Leagues and stuff. You'd think maybe you could tempt some of them away because they've won literally everything there is in Spain. So if they wanted to go abroad to win something else, maybe you could like maybe tempt like a Modric or a Cruz or someone like that into the Premier League, or Bale I know he said yesterday that he wants to stay at Real Madrid, but eventually he's going to want to come back to the UK, and maybe also because he's obviously been in the Premier League for so many years, he might want to win the Premier League.
Yeah, I spoke about that last night. I mean, I don't know how we're speculating, obviously, but you look at the De Gea situation. He's from Spain, he's from Madrid, he wants to go back home. You understand that. Bale is from the UK. Is there any part of him that wants to, at 28 this summer, thinking, I want to go back to the Premier League and win the Premier League because that's where I'm from? I'd like to have that in my trophy cabinet, because he probably will win another Champions League at Real Madrid. He probably will win another La Liga, but he's done it enough times. He might want to come back. I heard some Spurs fans say they've got first refusal. I don't give a shit if they have. They can't afford these wages anyway. Daniel Levy will not pay his wages, so you can have first refusal. You'll be refusing him. I can't see that.
They'll have to sell Kane to get the money anyway, so we'll just take Kane off them if they want to do it like that.
Craig McCullough Games says, do you reckon in the January transfer window United will sign players or not bother? Thanks for the contribution, Craig. I think we've got to sort this window out first. Whether we sign in January or not, Mourinho's openly said before that he doesn't really like to do it, and we sold 2, but we didn't sign any. It's very difficult, the January transfer window. But the Pogba thing just popped into my head again before we take some of the live comments. Oh, here we go. Shara Kara always makes a contribution, but it clearly hates United, so it's like paying to make a contribution, but to be negative. Says, Griezmann snubs Man U, 3 UEFA Champions League, small club, by rejects. Yeah, I don't know who he supports, probably Liverpool, but...
He paid to troll.
Yeah, he does it every now and again. But thanks for it, by the way. But... last summer, as you were saying, Alex, we had Mourinho, and it was probably one of the best summers we've had. But we were in the Europa League. We were miles off winning the league, I think. I think some of us fell into that trap because of the signings we made, and we sort of forgot about the problems that were already there that did bite us in the backside this season. Lack of a winning mentality, too much dead wood. But we made 3 fantastic... Well, we made 4, because Bay, we just didn't really know anything about him, and he was the signing of the summer. But on paper, Mkhitaryan, the best assister in Europe. Zlatan, one of the best strikers in the world. And obviously Pogba, arguably the best up-and-coming midfielder in the world. So we made amazing signings last summer. As you said there, this summer it's almost like, well, if we can half replicate that in relation to the status of the players we're signing, we'll be doing a good job. Which it's sort of started a little weird, and we don't know which way it's going to go. But this summer we've still got Mourinho, we've won the Europa League, so we to the outside player, we are a club going places. We've just won a big trophy. You'll get to play in the Super Cup, which is status. We're in the Champions League. We'll challenge for the title potentially if we get the signings right. Mourinho is the boss. We should be, and the impetus from last year where Woodward did really well. We made the signing of the summer from the Europa League with Pogba. So this summer you'd think, well, we're going to make that next step. We've now got the Champions League as well. We can sign anybody. I know what happened on Thursday probably blew what would have took us to that next step, because we would have been going, yes, look at this. Do you think they will be looking to still do that? Or do you think they're just going to have to just go, well, we missed out on that target, we're going to have to go for the ones that we went for?
It depends whether you believe the United story or the Griezmann story about who rejected who and if it was to do with the ban. But I think when you have such an amazing summer as we did last season, that it was always going to be not as good this summer because there are only a certain amount of world-class players ever available. And like I said, pretty much none of them are available this summer. But it's hard. I think we don't necessarily need to. I know we've been fixated on these Galacticos since Fergie's left, and not many of them have really turned out to be that good. So, and it seems to be the hidden gems like your Baez or with Rojo as well turned out to be a really good signing under Jose. It's like these unknown players that tend to be the better. So maybe it wouldn't be too bad if we were to get like a Morata or a Belotti, who I know isn't really unknown, but he isn't like a Galactico signing. Someone like that. I just think as long as we hit the key areas, it doesn't have to be a world name because we're just building. I don't think anyone expects us to win the Champions this summer, but as long as we have a good go at it and just at least get to the quarters or semis or something like that, then we're building on it. But like you said, it seems weird that last summer when we were in the Europa League, it was easier for us to attract the good players than when we're in the Champions League and just won 2 trophies when we're clearly going places. I don't know if it has to do with some players not liking the style of play, like there's been rumours with Mbappe with that, or I don't know what it is, but we can't really judge. We're getting all hysterical, myself included, when the transfer window I don't think even officially opens till the 1st of July, does it? So but there's a long time to go yet.
Yeah, but what I would say about that is Brandon is moaning about us not reading his comments. There's loads of comments which we do try to read, but tomorrow night is Skype Goldbridge, and there are shows during the week where it's totally about you folks. I've obviously got Alex on tonight, and we've got to sort of try and get through a lot. So the United Stand is definitely about your comments and stuff like that, and unfortunately we can't read all of them when we're sort of trying to create a show of talking about the key points. But tomorrow night 8:30 is the Skype show, as you know, and we have the Q&A, so there's loads and loads of opportunities to get involved. I just think we will have to go for somebody quite of a big signing, and Woodward definitely wants to do that. I've said it for a long time that he'd love to bring Neymar, and I don't see that as anywhere near possible, and it would be 200 million straight away. But I agree with you. I think we just don't know what's going to happen now. I said it about half an hour ago. I don't know who United are going to sign. I was pretty sure. I was over 90% that we were going to sign Griezmann, and I really was. And I think everybody was. And the people who a couple of days ago were saying, I've been telling you for months he won't sign. Well, that's just luck. That's luck, because it's the event on Thursday that made him not sign. Before that...
The fact he's even admitted that he was going to sign as well should make people realise that we would have got him if it wasn't for the ban.
Yeah, I mean, if he said he wasn't going to sign, you just look. But he hasn't signed, and now we're in this position where we do need to sign somebody. But what I was going to say, Alex, there was that Mourinho does like to get his business done early. He couldn't do that last year because he didn't start in the job till July, although we did bring Bailly in mid-month, and we got the other 3. Well, Pogba was a bit later, but Zlatan and Mkhitaryan were done quite at the start of July. We've seen City...
It wasn't... Because I was stressing about it, ranting about it at work the other day, with City getting all their business done early, yada yada. So I googled it, and we signed Bailly on the 6th of June last summer. So we have 2 days to match that.
The thing is, as well, I think that we probably will sign at least 4 players, and for them to all start from July when we're going on the US tour, early middle July. I do think something's going to happen in June. Maybe something this week, next week, I don't know. The bad side of it now is that because of what happened on Thursday, we almost anything that breaks in the press now, we're all like, oh yeah, whatever, because we have been let down. And obviously we'll cover all the news, and we are live every night at 8:30, and the 7 a.m. show is the transfer show. But I think what I'm trying to do now with the channel is sort of do our own thing, not really listen to the press, but sort of look at. It's hard, but sort of look at who is likely to be moving, would United be in for them, and go that route, because I don't trust anybody out there anymore. And we do get people giving us information, and they have been good in the past. But Dimarzio apart, I don't really trust anybody. I still think, and I don't know, I want to talk about this on the 7am show, so I don't want to get into it too much, but I do still think there's something in Mbappe, because Dimarzio has said 3 times in the last 6 weeks that United are obsessed with him and they want him. Arsenal put a bid in of 87 million, which is laughable. Why would he want to go and play for Arsenal? Of course, if Real Madrid want him, I think they'll probably get him. But there's no guarantee that Real Madrid will. I just got a funny feeling that might happen. But again, like a lot of people are said in the live comments, you've got people like Lukaku who are available. Why aren't we going in for Aubameyang? Apparently Aubameyang signed for PSG last week and then it wasn't the case. He still might, but it wasn't the case. Belotti's obviously available. You just don't, anything can happen. And I think it's going to be exciting, but I think we're also going to have a load of red herrings.
With Mbappe, don't get me wrong, I have seen him a few times and he is a brilliant player, but we have our own Mbappe to an extent with Rashford, and I don't know whether I would want Mbappe just because of his age and stuff, because I would think, I know the likes of Lukaku and Belotti are fairly young as well, but they're not as young as Mbappe.
He's only 18, isn't he? Just 18.
Yes, and Rashford's only 19, so it's I think if you put Rashford into the French league, he would bang them in as well.
Yeah, he would.
So it's hard to tell because I think Rashford, obviously his main thing that lets him down is his finishing. But let's say that Rashford could finish like a Van Nistelrooy or something, obviously not as good as that. But let's say he was a clinical finisher, Rashford would be the most spoke about teenager in the world by an absolute marks. If you look at his overall play, how quick he is, how good he is at dribbling, his distribution, some of the that cross that he did for Fellaini against whoever it was against, he's brilliant at free kicks. He's such a complete player. He just needs to sort his finishing out. So, I think for signing Mbappe would be a waste of money because I really think Rashford, if he sorts his finishing out, can take it to the next level. But I think he does need someone to put pressure on him. It was kind of ridiculous with Zlatan because Zlatan was just always playing, whether in form or out of form, and Jose wasn't making them compete with each other because it was just Zlatan's fit, Zlatan's playing. But if we were to get a Lukaku or something, I would hope, or a Belotti, I would hope that Jose would stay neutral with him and say, okay, Rashford, Belotti, you're on the same level, and whoever just is in form, you're the one that's going to play. And then it just fires them on because Rashford has the potential to be world class. He really is that good. If you look at his all-round play, it's just his finishing he needs to sort out.
Now, I'm a big fan of Rashford's. I mean, there's people saying you're a joke if you think Rashford's better than Mbappe. But again, I'll go back to Lacazette. I think people put way too much status on what is a very poor French league. I don't rate that league at all. I mean, we blasted Saint Etienne, didn't we? And we've not been that good. It's not below PSG and Monaco and Lyon to a certain extent. It's a very poor league. There's about 20 teams in there. It's like La Liga. But Cam, these comments always stand out to me. Please talk about Pereira. He can be our own AG7. Look, I like Pereira. There's zero chance that Mourinho is going to play him in the team consistently next year. I think if he can just be part of the squad, it'd be great. But Madrid will buy De Gea. You'll take Morata, says Shorakari. He's making another contribution. And I want to talk a little bit, and Andrew's made a contribution. Andrew S. You didn't leave a question, Andrew, but thanks for that. I want to talk a little bit about players leaving. Martial's agent in January said, he quite fancy Valencia. He's now saying that he's got no intention of leaving. I can't see Martial leaving because if I ask this question to everybody, and I said I'd do this, and I asked this to you, Alex, name the 4 players that you think United have got to get rid of this summer. And I'll guarantee you, Martial wouldn't be in it anyway. But even if Mourinho wants to get rid of Martial, it's a bit like signing Rodriguez. There's way too many other players to get rid of first, and we're not going to get rid of 5, 6, 7, 8 players. That's just not going to happen. But your 4 players that you that have got to go.
Martial would be nowhere close, even if I was to get rid of 10 players. 4 players, it's hard. I would say Smalling, even though he's improved this season. Jones, just because of his injury record. To be fair, it's just mainly them 2 because of their injuries. But then you could say the likes of Ashley Young, but he still has his uses. I know he's on ridiculous wages, so that would be cut out completely. But it's hard because I think we do have a lot of dead wood, but when we're playing in so many competitions, as we've seen this season, they do have their uses. So it's just, if the books can afford it, if we can afford all their wages and stuff, then I don't really want to get rid of it. And it also depends on who we're bringing in. Because I think like at the start of the season I would have said Darmian as well, but Darmian later on in the season he actually did prove me wrong, and he has grown into with like Mourinho is the best defensive coach in the world anyway, and that's why like Rojo's been absolutely. If you remember as well, under Van Gaal, I always said that I liked him better as a centre back anyway. So it would just be Smalling and Jones, and that's even with them two. I think they are capable of decent performances. Like I think Smalling was good in the Europa League final, but it's just their injury records. It's just ridiculous now. We've given them chance after chance after chance for so many years, and they just can't sort themselves out injury-wise.
I've got to read this from KT Schaff because it just jumped out at me and it made me laugh. He said, Lacazette has just got hype because he's got an extinct and overpowered player on FIFA. He's shit. And I don't play enough FIFA to know who's good and who's bad. But John Morris says players to leave: Rooney, Jones and Young. And Serbia says Rooney, Zlatan, Fellaini, Jones.
I completely forgot about Rooney. Yeah, sorry, Rooney would be on my list as well.
And I think that's it. Look, if I said Januzaj, James Wilson, Rooney, Zlatan, De Gea, Smalling, Jones, Young, I'm up to 8. Fellaini, 9. Some people would get rid of Darmian, 10. There's no way half of those are going. So,
am I the only person that wants Zlatan to stay as well? Obviously on reduced wages, but I think he could actually, if we sat not as our main striker, and if he would accept a bit part role, that I would actually want him to stay for the second part of the season with the amount of games that we have.
No, I'd agree with that. I said that the other night. I think my problem is I don't trust Mourinho to do that. I think if with a fit Zlatan, he'd just play him every week, every minute again, and then we become this predictable team like we have been in the second half of this season, where teams play a high line at Old Trafford, we don't get in behind them, and we get pressed to hell by teams like Anderlecht and Bournemouth that we should just be blowing away. But no, I wouldn't. I presume Rooney will go because I cannot see why we'd want to keep him. He's on massive money and he's shot. I mean, you said it 2 years ago and you were spot on. I think De Gea will go. That's my personal opinion. I don't want him to. I think he will go. So that's 2. Phil Jones surely has to go. Although I saw a comment from him on the main account of Twitter in the week saying he's looking forward to next year. Again, whether Phil Jones, Paolo Maldini reincarnated, as I've said before, he's got to go because he can't play more than 3 or 4 games before he gets injured. And as a centre-back, it's all about consistency and building a partnership. He can't be trusted because of his injury record. I would keep Smalling, so he wouldn't be there. Ashley Young, too much money, and I don't really rate him that much anyway. Januzaj, I wouldn't be giving him a second chance.
With just sorry quickly, with De Gea, how you say that you think he's going to go? Would you go into next season with our keepers as Romero and Pereira, or do you think we should actually sign a keeper? Because I've been critical in the past about Romero, and like I still don't know if I would trust him 100%. But I think this season, like De Gea was our Player of the Year, like under Van Gaal, and I think under Moyes as well. So that's 3 seasons. Yeah, it was 3 seasons in a row, wasn't it? But this season, I'm not going to say he was bad because he wasn't bad, but he wasn't really needed as much because Bailly is obviously so absolutely brilliant, and then Jones played well and stuff, so he wasn't really having to make that many saves. So I think that we could win the league with the likes of Romero and goal. It just depends where we want to spend our resources, and Pereira apparently is really, really highly rated, so he could always play in the cups like what Romero did this season.
Yeah, I just don't trust Mourinho to ever play any young players, so I don't know why he'd risk either of the Pereiras. I don't think he'll play them consistently next year. I think he's likely to stick with Romero, but I've got to stand by the fact that in the Europa League, Romero was okay, but he was never really tested. I've never seen he wasn't tested, and a lot of people like Romero, and I like Romero, but I do remember him playing in that first 3 games after when the fax machine debacle was going on. We were 1-0 away to Swansea. He couldn't catch he can't catch a balloon. He can't. He punches it, and I think in the Europa League he gets away with it. Gets away with it in the Europa League because it's more European, obviously. But in the Premier League, they will bombard him with crosses, and he's not good on crosses, and he will cost us points. And so I wouldn't.
He hasn't really yet, but I completely agree with you that it is so frustrating. Like when we're used to a cross coming in into De Gea just catching it, that Romero always goes to punch it, but surely that could just be trained out.
Yeah, I would want us to go and sign a keeper. I mean, some people think Kasper Schmeichel, which I wouldn't, as long as it's not Joe Hart. It cannot be Joe Hart. I mean, that would be just really ill-advised by Mourinho to do that, to bring Joe Hart to the club. I don't want him anywhere near Manchester United. I don't care if he's a good keeper or not. And he's actually not had a very good season for Torino, so I don't want him at all. Let's have a look at some of your comments. Would only get rid of De Gea for Kroos and money, and even then, only maybe, says Deadpool Universe. Every United player proved Alex wrong. He got a bad eye when it came to United players, says the real end. Well, I just told you there, 2 years ago he said about Rooney, and he's the only one I remember saying that, and he was spot on. He said he was finished. And me and Kev were sat there saying,
what player proved wrong?
Yeah. United fan wants me to do a football free kick video in my garden. It's a bit dark at the moment. Fans on about which defensive midfielder player we should go for. I'll ask Alex that now, actually, because again, it's a position we need to fill, and there's not loads. I mean, Kessie's gone to. He was always a left field signing anyway, but he's gone to AC Milan. John Morris says Romero's average. You've got a mistake in him, and bring back Vidic, Giggs, and Evra, says Football 3704. Alaba would be an awesome signing, says Vladimir, and United in the stands chance. I still want it to be Romero and Pereira in goal, rather than buy another keeper. And there is support for that. That's a good point. And he played well against Southampton. Well, he made a save from a penalty. Look, if you think Romero is going to be good enough for his next season, that's what United stands about. It's all about opinion. Mine is we're going from one of the best goalkeepers in the world to somebody who's probably in the top 30. He's not in the top 10. So I think United should always have one of the top 10 keepers in the world, and Romero's not in the top 10. So it's a bit like what we were talking about there before about Morata. I put him in the top 30 strikers in the world, but he's not in the top 10, and I think we need that level of striker. I personally, if I knew anything about United and I was a striker in world football, I would want to come, because I would look at last season and go, the amount of chances they missed, I could get 40 goals. It means Zlatan got 28 and he missed loads. There was a decent, a clinical striker, because Zlatan is a decent striker. A clinical striker had 40 goals there this season. So if I was a striker, I'd be thinking, you know what, I'll have some of that. As much as we got criticised, we should have been way higher than we were in the league, and we still won the Europa League and the League Cup. But centre defensive midfielder, Alex, is there anybody? We need one. We've got to sign midfielders. I've heard people say we're all right with Fellaini, Herrera, Carrick, and Pogba. We're not. We were running on empty. We need at least one just to give us more numbers. Is there anyone you think to mind? I know Fabinho, Matuidi, Eric Dyer's been mentioned.
I just want to get a time machine and roll back the years about 5 or 6 years and bring Carrick back in that position.
Yeah.
Because he would just be like, prime Carrick would be so good in this team. But I guess Fabinho's the main one, but I think he's going to go to City. It does seem like they just seem to be buying like all of Monaco's whole team. So
I think that's dead lazy. If Pep does that, he's an even bigger fraud, because you're just buying somebody else's success, really. I really think if you sign more than 2 players from one club, that's a right cop-out. But
Liverpool, Southampton.
Yeah, I think it's really lazy management, to be honest, to go and sign more than, when you're signing more than one player from one club. Yeah, Monaco were fantastic last year, but they're also wanting Mendy. They're probably going for Mbappe. It's just Pep's just desperate anyway. He spent the most money last year, and he's meant to be all about total football and developing players. Yeah, whatever. No, Fabinho would be my choice. People mentioned Fosu Mensah. I don't think he's ready yet. I think he needs to sort of build his way in. I wouldn't mind.
I think Fosu would be more box to box as well. Anyway.
Yeah, I like Matuidi. Matuidi could be done, actually. If we don't get Fabinho, Matuidi's not a bad one, because he's only got a year left on his contract. He's also a client of Mini Raiola, so we could do that deal, and I don't think he'd do a bad job. Eric Dyer, I don't know, he'd be expensive, and I'm not convinced.
He's all right, but he's not even Spurs' best midfielder, so why should we be aiming for the likes of that? If we were to take a Spurs player, it would be, if De Gea goes, Lloris or Harry Kane or Dele Alli, one of them, not the likes of Dyer.
Nicholas Archer says Saul Niguez from Atletico Madrid. I think we'd have the same problem with Griezmann there. There's 4 or 5 players I'd like from Atletico Madrid, but we're not getting any. Oblak to replace De Gea. Jimenez is a good centre-back. Carrasco's a good wide player. Saul Niguez. But we're not getting an Atletico Madrid player. In fact, I'll be bloody gutted if any Atletico Madrid player leaves this summer now after what's happened. But you never know. But we've done the hour. I've thoroughly enjoyed that. I just want to reiterate again, we're having a problem with live content on the United Stand channel. You're not on the United Stand channel at the moment. You're on the Mark Goldbridge channel. So make sure you click that subscribe button and hit the bell notifications, because if there is any, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how long it's going to take for us to get back live on the United Stand. There will be content on there, but it won't be live. Live content will be on here. If there is a signing or a breaking news, we will react to it, but it's going to be on this channel. So if you want to be part of the United Stand live content, for the moment it's going to be on this channel, the Mark Goldbridge channel. So make sure you've clicked the subscribe button and the bell notification. There's over 2,000 of you here. You're fantastic for finding your way over here. Thanks for that. Remember to drop a like. It's nice to get 1,000. Got dislikes again for some reason. Probably I've noticed a few of obviously bitter rivals. But thanks everybody. I really didn't think we'd have that many watching tonight. Hopefully we will be back on the United Stand channel some point this week. But Skype Goldbridge is tomorrow, and it will be on the Mark Goldbridge channel if we've still got not got the ban. So like I say, just make sure you're subscribed. Because this is where we're going to be for live content at the moment, but we are trying to get it resolved. Thanks for coming on, Alex. Really enjoyed it, and it's a good show because it flew by.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Let's just hopefully this week or something. I still have memories of that, coming back from that night out on a Friday night or whatever it was, and doing that midnight show about Schweinsteiger just starting. So let's hope we have something like that, positive news in the next week or 2 weeks with a transfer show, because I always really them. But yeah, thanks for having me on, and you can follow me on Twitter at AXAS23, and hopefully, as Mark said, that we'll be on United Stand again shortly.
Yes, we've tried some. Nicholas asked on about YouTube. It's ridiculous. YouTube support on Twitter has answered people in between us asking for help who have got like tiny accounts, and you've all retweeted it and they still won't reply. So I don't know. We should not be banned on the United Stand from live content. I can't say any more than that, but we shouldn't be. But the process of trying to get somebody to actually sort it out is ridiculous. So for the moment, we're on here. And like I say, just make sure you subscribe here, because as Alex said there, the Schweinsteiger thing broke at about 11 o'clock at night, and we will go live, but we're going to be on here. So thanks everybody for watching, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow. 7 a.m. show. I'll get up early and I'll pre-record it. I'm going to put that on the United Stand channel. That will go up at 7 a.m. But the 8:30 show could be here, could be there, and anything that breaks in the day could probably be here. So, like I say, subscribe, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Alex at AXAS23 on Twitter. And who knows, all I can say about transfers, it's going to be an interesting summer. We do love talking about it, but I think we're into the unknown now. Nobody knows what's going to happen, which is good in a way, but you've also got to be very careful about what's breaking, because as I've said to you before, Manchester United sell. So if a certain paper tonight at 11 o'clock says United in for Aubameyang, they know that you lot are all going to click it and read it. There may be nothing in it, and that's the problem we face now. We just don't know what's going on, and I'm not going to pretend I do. I've heard a little bit of things, but I don't know. So we'll see what happens. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll speak to you all very soon.